before we begin, if you believe that stories can heal, strengthen, and remind the soul that there is always a new path, subscribe to the channel. This story might be exactly what someone close to you needs to hear today. Take a deep breath, and let's begin the journey. London that morning, as if the sky itself were tired. Delicate droplets ran down the glass of the hotel window where Jessica stood, tracing random, silent paths, almost as uncertain as the thoughts occupying her mind. She sat on the edge of the bed, her rehearsal dress carefully folded beside her, shoes aligned on the floor. Everything in her room reflected organization, discipline, perfection. But inside, there was a kind of echo, a void that no crowded audience seemed to fill. The alarm clock read 6:12 a.m. Jessica closed her eyes for a few seconds before standing up. The entire world saw her as a successful woman, the rising American soprano, invitations to the greatest theaters in Europe, interviews, praise, applause that seemed never-ending. But there, alone, before the day even began, there was only silence. She walked to the window and pulled back the curtain. The streets were still half empty. A red bus passed slowly. An elderly lady crossed the street with a blue umbrella. A man walked hurriedly, clutching a hot coffee. Ordinary lives, simple moments, and an inexplicable desire to be anywhere but there. Jessica rested her forehead against the cold glass. The distant scent of coffee rose from the lobby. The sound of footsteps in the hallway. The world moved on. And she, once again, asked herself in silence, "Is this all there is?" Her phone vibrated. A message from her agent: "The flight to Vienna is confirmed for 10 a.m. This will be the biggest show of your career, Jessica. Get ready to shine." She read it slowly. Shine. Always that word. She smiled out of politeness, even though she was alone. Then she went to the small table, opened a bottle of water, took a few sips, and began her vocal warm-up, as she did every day. Her voice came out perfect, strong, controlled. On the outside, everything worked. On the inside, something was deeply tired. Jessica lost her parents young. She grew up in conservatories, boarding houses, borrowed rooms, and cold auditoriums. She learned early on that music was her refuge and her armor. She never stayed anywhere long enough to grow roots. The stage was always her home, and also her prison. She looked at the open suitcase on the floor, performance clothes, sheet music, makeup, piled memories of a life lived always in motion. The world applauded her. But who truly knew her? When she went down for breakfast, she sat alone, as always. She observed the tables around her, couples talking softly, a family laughing, an old man reading the newspaper calmly. The smell of warm bread, butter, and strong coffee enveloped her. She realized she couldn't remember the last time she drank coffee without being in a hurry. In that moment, a strange longing emerged, not for someone specific, but for a life she never had. Minutes later, in the taxi on the way to the airport, the city looked like a movie passing through the window. People going to their jobs, their homes, their loves, their pains. Jessica leaned her head back and sighed. The driver turned on the radio. An old song played softly. She recognized the melody. Her mother used to hum that song while cooking, many years ago. Her heart tightened. The airport appeared ahead. The massive glass building, people in a rush, announcements echoing. She entered, pulling her suitcase, cutting through crowds, as she always did. But for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel excitement. She was just going with the flow. Until a voice sounded over the loudspeaker: "Attention passengers for Flight 372 to Vienna. The flight is temporarily delayed due to severe weather conditions." Jessica stopped. Temporarily. She sat in one of the lobby chairs, watching the faces around her. Frustration, fatigue, impatience. Hours passed. Messages accumulated on her phone. Then, the final announcement: the flight to Vienna has been cancelled. Jessica's world seemed to pause. It was as if someone had pulled the brake on her own life. With no immediate options, her agent called, explaining alternative routes, trains, connections. All confusing. All distant. By the time she realized it, she was on a train heading to a small rural region of England, where she would try a new connection the following day. Through the window, the landscape changed. Skyscrapers gave way to green fields, ancient fences, stone cottages, silent hills. The sky, still cloudy, seemed to touch the earth. Jessica watched it all in silence, with a strange sensation, as if she were being led away from herself. Or perhaps, closer. When she stepped off at the small, nearly empty station, she felt the cold wind touch her face. The smell of wet earth, leaves, and old wood. There were no taxis. Only a wooden sign indicating the name of the village, Willow Creek. She walked down the narrow road until she found a small inn with a light facade, flowers in the windows, and a warm yellow light inside. A bell tinkled when she opened the door. The scent of tea, freshly baked cake, and old wood enveloped her senses. And without knowing it, in that instant, Jessica's life had just changed forever. The fireplace crackled softly in the inn's lounge. The sound of burning wood mixed with the wind outside and the light clinking of teacups in the kitchen. Jessica sat in an armchair near the window, still holding her suitcase, observing the place like someone entering an old dream. A girl of about 8 years old appeared in the hallway. Brown hair tied in 2 braids, a simple dress, curious eyes. "Are you a princess?" she asked, without ceremony. Jessica blinked, surprised, and laughed for the first time in days. "I don't think so." The girl furrowed her brow. "Everyone who arrives here looks like a princess." Before Jessica could respond, a man appeared behind the girl. "Katie, that's no way to greet a guest." He was tall, with a calm posture and a gentle gaze. There was something tired in his face, but also a serenity not easily found. "I'm sorry," he said, turning to Jessica. "I'm Andrew, and this is my daughter, Katie." "Jessica," she replied, extending her hand. When their eyes met, something silent passed between them. Not immediate passion, not a dramatic impact, just a strange sense of human recognition, of presence. Andrew helped with the luggage and showed her the room upstairs, simple but cozy. A floral quilt, a small desk, a window overlooking the countryside. "If you need anything, I'll be downstairs," he said before closing the door. Alone, Jessica sat on the bed. The silence of the countryside was different from the silence of luxury hotels. It was alive. It breathed. She took a small photograph from her pocket. Her parents, many years ago, smiling at the camera. Her mother with an arm around her shoulders. Her father with a crooked hat. She traced her finger over the image. She never had time to grieve. There was always an audition, a performance, a rehearsal. The stage did not allow for tears. But there, in that simple room, the tears came. Not for the cancelled flight, but for everything that was never lived. She thought of the abandoned relationships, the declined invitations, the friends lost along the way. She thought of the lonely nights in silent rooms, hearing applause still echoing in her memory, but with no one by her side to share the weight of the day. Deep down, she had always been afraid to stop. Afraid to discover that, without the music, she might not know who she was. Downstairs, she heard Katie's voice laughing. The sound of Andrew speaking softly. Cutlery being organized. Life happening. Jessica took a deep breath. Maybe the delay wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was an invitation. And unknowingly, in that small and forgotten on the map, her greatest performance was yet to begin. The next morning, Jessica woke up before the sun. The room was still shrouded in a bluish light, and for a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then she heard the distant song of a bird, the soft wind passing through the trees, and everything slowly came back. Willow Creek. She stood up and opened the window. The cold air touched her face. Ahead, a green field stretched as far as the eye could see, dotted with wildflowers and old wooden fences. A thin mist danced over the grass, and in the background, a few sheep moved calmly. No car horns. No announcements. No applause. Just life. Jessica dressed and went downstairs. The inn was still silent. In the kitchen, Andrew was preparing coffee while Katie, sitting at the table, was drawing. "Good morning," he said, smiling. "Good morning." The smell of fresh bread and coffee filled the room. "Did you sleep well?" Andrew asked. Jessica hesitated before answering. "Better than I have in a long time." Katie held up her drawing and showed it. "It's you singing," she said, pointing to a figure with a huge mouth and several people in front. Jessica laughed. "I don't think I've ever looked so famous." "Daddy says you sing on giant stages," Katie explained. "That's bigger than school. Much bigger." Andrew served the coffee and sat with them. "And how is your flight situation?" Jessica sighed. "Nothing certain. My agent is trying a new route, but it looks like I'll only be able to leave the day after tomorrow." Andrew nodded. "Well, Willow Creek is small, but it knows how to welcome people." Jessica smiled, not realizing how true those words were. After breakfast, she decided to walk through the village. She passed a bakery, a flower shop, a small bookstore, the post office, and the central square with an old iron bench and a simple fountain. People greeted her. No one asked who she was. And that, strangely, was liberating. When she returned to the inn, she heard a voice humming in the yard. Katie was sitting on a swing, swaying slowly. Jessica approached. "Do you like music?" "Mommy used to sing," the girl replied, "before she went to heaven." The sentence was said with such naturalness that Jessica's heart tightened. "She sang very beautifully," Katie continued. "Daddy hasn't sung since then." Jessica watched Andrew through the kitchen window, alone, washing a cup. That afternoon, while helping Andrew organize some shelves at the inn, Jessica began to sing, almost without noticing. A soft, old melody her mother used to sing to put her to sleep. Andrew stopped what he was doing. He stood still, listening. When she finished, the silence stretched for a few seconds. "How long have you been singing?" he asked. "Since forever." "I can tell." His gaze carried something deep. Longing, recognition, pain and beauty intertwined. In that instant, something began to change. At night, they sat in the small room by the fireplace. Katie was already asleep. The rain had returned outside. Andrew served tea. "You could be anywhere in the world right now," he said. "But you're here." Jessica held the warm cup between her hands. "I should be in Vienna tomorrow. And do you want to be?" The question hung in the air. Jessica swallowed hard. I don't know anymore." Andrew took a deep breath. "My wife, Emma, died 3 years ago. A car accident. Since then, I've been functioning. The inn, Katie, the bills. But I stopped dreaming." He looked at the fire. "Sometimes, I think if I stop, the pain will swallow me." Jessica felt something break inside her. "I did the opposite," she said. "I ran so I wouldn't feel. I sang, I traveled, I worked, until I forgot who I was without the stage." They looked at each other. Two strangers united by invisible wounds. "Maybe," Andrew said, "life brought you here for a reason." Jessica took a deep breath. The phone vibrated in her pocket. It was her agent. "Found a flight for tomorrow morning. If you leave now, you'll reach London in time." She closed her eyes. The fireplace crackled. The wind sang outside. And for the first time, the future felt like a choice, not an obligation. Without Jessica noticing, she remained sitting on the edge of the bed, her phone still in her hand, staring at the agent's message as if those few words weighed more than her entire career. "Flight confirmed. This is your big night." Big night. The room was silent. The moon drew soft shadows on the floor. The distant sound of rain mixed with the beating of her own heart. She stood up, walked to the window, and watched the sleeping inn. A faint light was still on in the hallway. The field was motionless under the dark sky. Within her, a fierce conflict formed. To go meant fulfilling everything she had built: fame, recognition, years of sacrifice. To stay meant something she still didn't know how to name, but felt. Finally, she made a decision. She would leave in the morning. She packed her bag in silence. At daybreak, she went down the stairs. Andrew was already awake, making coffee. "I got a flight," she said, avoiding his eyes. "I need to go now." Andrew was silent for a moment. "I understand." Katie appeared in the hallway, still in her pajamas. "Are you going away?" Jessica knelt before her, her heart aching. "I am, but I didn't want it to be like this." Katie hugged her tightly. "Will you come back?" Jessica couldn't answer. She got into the car that would take her to the station. As the vehicle began to pull away, she looked back. Andrew and Katie were standing at the inn door. And in that moment, the pain hit her like a wave. For the first time in many years, Jessica wasn't crying for losing something. She was crying because she had chosen wrong. The train departed. And silence took over. The dressing room was full of flowers, letters, praise, and lights. Jessica sat before the mirror, still in her performance costume, her makeup flawless, her hair perfectly pinned. The audience on the other side of the door was still applauding. Her name echoed through the hallways. But there, alone, she felt only a weight in her chest. She watched her own reflection for long seconds. How many times had she been in that same position? How many times was this moment supposed to mean victory? She picked up her phone. No message from Andrew. No audio from Katie. Only notifications, contracts, commitments. She remembered the fireplace, the hot tea, the smell of cake at the inn, the way Katie smiled when she missed a musical note and laughed at herself, the look in Andrew's eyes when she sang that afternoon, a look that seemed to say, "You are still alive." Jessica took a deep breath. For the first time in many years, she understood that she wasn't tired of the work. She was tired of living without roots. She left the dressing room, passing through hallways full of people smiling, thanking, and praising her. But inside her, there was a different silence. Not empty, but clear. That night, in her hotel room, she opened her suitcase and realized that everything inside represented a lifetime of running away. She sat on the bed and cried. Not just from sadness, but from recognition. She picked up her phone and wrote to her agent, "I need a break. I don't know when I'll be back." She turned off her phone. She looked out the window at the illuminated city and, for the first time, felt hope, not in the distant future, but in the very next step. The flight back to England felt longer than all the others she had ever taken. But it also felt light. Jessica watched the clouds and thought about everything she had left behind. Contracts, stages, expectations, a version of herself that always pleased the world but almost never herself. When the train arrived at Willow Creek, it was already night. The village was quiet. A few lights were on, the distant sound of a dog barking, the wind through the trees. Jessica walked to the inn, her heart racing, her steps unsteady. She knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. The door opened. Andrew was there, looking tired, surprised. "I came back," she said, her voice trembling. "Because I understood that success isn't about continuing when your soul is being left behind." Andrew stood in silence. The cold wind passed between them. "I was afraid," Jessica continued. "Afraid of choosing wrong. But being away from you hurt more than any failure." Andrew's eyes filled with tears. He took a step forward. "I didn't want you to have gone." Jessica let the tears fall. "Neither did I." He embraced her. It wasn't an embrace of immediate passion. It was the embrace of two people who had survived, and now wanted to live. Katie appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. "Did you really come back?" Jessica knelt, holding the girl's face. "I came back to stay." Katie smiled and hugged her tight. And that night, under the silent sky of Willow Creek, three hearts began a new story, without stages, without applause, but full of truth. The following days were simple and beautiful. Jessica helped at the inn. She sang for the guests. She cooked with Katie. She walked through the fields with Andrew. They talked about losses, dreams, choices, fears. Nothing was perfect, but everything was real. She began giving singing lessons to the village children. Andrew began to smile again without guilt. Katie started singing once more, and little by little, life was rebuilt. Spring had arrived in Willow Creek. The trees were blossoming around the small church, the fields looked greener than ever, and the wind carried the scent of new possibilities. The entire village gathered on that clear morning, not for a grand spectacle, but to celebrate something much more precious, a new beginning. Jessica stood before the altar, wearing a simple dress, as clear as the sky that day. There were no expensive jewels, no elaborate makeup, no stage lights. Only her smile, serene, true, whole. When Andrew entered, holding Katie's hand, Jessica's world seemed to settle into place in silence. There were no more doubts. There was no more rushing. Only presence. The ceremony was small, intimate. A few words, a few looks, a few smiles filled with tears. Jessica sang for them, not as the acclaimed European soprano, but as a woman who had found her home. Her voice echoed through the church like a prayer. Andrew held her hand firmly, like one making a promise without needing to speak. Katie smiled like someone who already knew love had finally come to stay. After the ceremony, they sat under a large tree in the field, sharing bread, tea, and laughter with the villagers. Children ran around. The sun touched their skin with delicacy. The world felt lighter. Jessica watched Andrew talking to the neighbors, Katie playing among the flowers, and felt a peace that no applause had ever given her. She had chosen love. And for the first time, that choice didn't require her to lose anything, only to finally be who she always was. Late that afternoon, walking hand in hand through the field, Andrew turned to her. "If you ever miss the stage." Jessica smiled, resting her forehead against his. "The most beautiful stage is right here." And there, under the open sky of Willow Creek, Jessica understood the true meaning of the journey. It wasn't about reaching higher, it was about coming home. If this story touched your heart, perhaps it can also touch the heart of someone you love. Subscribe to the channel. Share this story with someone going through a difficult time. And if you'd like, write in the comments what you felt or what resonated with you. Because sometimes, a story is all someone needs to believe that starting over is possible.